Hello.
Hey Tasha, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So, thank you so much for being here with me for this podcast. I really appreciate the time that and effort that you're going to put here. Hello there. Welcome to Plum Talks, a podcast where marketing experts talk about how to make a difference in the world of marketing. I'm your host, Natasha Joshi, a marketing strategist at Plumfind, and I'm very excited to dive into today's topic, the future of media planning, AI enhanced strategy. So grab a cup of coffee with me and let's get started. To take this discussion ahead, I am super excited to invite our guest for the day, Rob Cupello. Rob is a marketing maverick with over a decade of experience in strategic advertising planning and development. With a passion for helping clients build their businesses, Rob's unique approach goes beyond the traditional realms of pretty ads. He delves deep into the data driven world, ensuring that every marketing dollar spent generates a solid return. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you. You made me sound old, but thank you.
I think I'm making you sound experienced. Right. So now, before we jump into the impact of AI on media planning specifically, Rob, could you tell our listener a little bit about media planning, what it is, and how AI is involved, just to get an idea of what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for first of all for having me on the podcast. Really excited to talk today. So, obviously, lots of changes in the marketing world when it comes to AI and media planning is obviously one of them as well. So, typically, when you're doing media planning, you're looking at how to best effectively spend your dollars in the market to reach your audience and at all different levels. And what we've seen over the last few months with the real growth of AI is that it's really augmented the ability for us to be more effective with our media planning buying. So there's lots of different tools you can use. I'm sure we'll dig into it today. But effectively, media planning is really just using your dollars most effectively for marketing to your audience is really what we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And as I already mentioned in your introduction, we are going to focus on how to take most advantage of every dollar that you're putting into advertising. That's awesome. I think it's time that we start the discussion on the future of media planning and the role of AI into it. Before anything else, since everyone is looking for a new tool, and you have already mentioned that we are going to talk about some interesting tools, I thought this could be one of the things that could really grab attention and also focus on some specific ideas, except for chat gpt and such tools which are already in the market, people know about, but there are, I believe, other tools as well which could really help marketers and advertisers, right, to help them with their jobs. We will start with that particular topic. So when it comes to leveraging AI tools and technologies in media planning, what do you think are the specific skill sets and capabilities that media planners should develop to effectively harness their potential? And it would be amazing if you could share about a few tools in there.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a couple different ways, but I thought at the foundation is just really understanding AI. I think that's the simplest answer, but it really is a key, right? Understanding how to, I know Chat GPT is the big one right now, but even as simple as that is understanding how to put correct prompts into it. So just understanding AI in general, I think, is important. The second thing is AI is based off of data typically, right? So you really need to understand your data, interpret data, recognize patterns, and so forth. Because if you don't have good data and you can't understand your data, the AI tools won't necessarily give you the results you're looking for, right? It's input good data in, good data out, right? So those are really key for me to understand. The other thing we really want to know is just understanding technically how these tools can actually help and test them, right? So one thing, the beauty of nowadays is that you can go and test AI tools pretty effectively and quickly, and you can get learnings quickly. 10 years ago, you couldn't do that, right? You would have to go run a traditional media campaign and wait for the results, and hopefully it worked, and then now you can analyze things really quickly, right? So there's some tools that you can do that as well. I think that you need to be able to be a strategic thinker, though, and you'll hear me say this a few times during today, is that AI can take you a certain to a certain level, but we still need the human part of it as well, the human strategic thinking, right? You need to be able to understand the insights that AI is giving you and do something with it, right? So if it's not, it's just more data that you're not utilizing, right? And I would say the last thing for me that is really important is, it's a big topic now, is ethical considerations, right? Like, so using all this data, what's your responsibility and how are you going to use it? And what about data privacy? And is there a bias in AI? And like, so just understanding and being cognizant of that is really important. Be aware of that before you just jump in, right? So I think there's lots of, I don't know if we want to dive in, like there's lots of tools that you can use, actually specific tools. We talked about ChatGPT, everyone knows it. It's probably the most popular one. But there's things like copy.ai, which helps teams write copy, right? So simple as Jasper is another one. So Jasper AI is another one that you can use to create SEO content and really drive sort of that side when it comes to the content size. There's promo.ai, which does newsletters, right? So again, a lot of these are free to go test, right? Go out and play with these things, right? So go and test these. There's Grammarly, which people already probably have heard and use that to make sure there's SEO tools like Surfer SEO that allows you to kind of do more writing specifically around SEO writing. And one of my favorites is Market Muse, and we'll talk about it later. And some Market Muse is again free tool, but really helps you develop a really good content strategy as well. So there's a lot. Like, we could probably spend all half hour just talking about all the different tools that are out there, but those are some of the ones I think that are most prevalent that are being used day to day from media planners.
I totally get that. One thing that I noticed when you started talking about, people do not really understand AI till now. Like, there are a lot of marketers out there who are already talking about AI, and we hear this word very often, specifically on LinkedIn and other platforms, such platforms or workshops. We hear AI everywhere. But do you agree that very few people really understand the whole concept, specifically in marketing as well? Marketers, advertisers, they don't really know what is happening in the world of AI, and it's time that we just teach ourselves how to delve into that so that we can understand it better and use it in our day-to-day life. Right?
100%, Natasha. You're so bang on that. I think that part of it is because it's happened so quickly, and people don't like change sometimes. So it's the ability to actually dive in and actually learn this stuff rather than, I think there's still a lot to learn. And there's news, like literally, if you follow AI, there's advancements every day. Like not every week or every month or every year, literally every day there's something new. So a lot of people, I'm learning it still too, and I'm sure you are. Like when we're in the industry and we're learning every day something new. So I could see someone being from the outside, a business owner, a marketer, saying, whoa, that's a lot. Like, where do I start? Right. So just fundamentally learning the power of AI would be step one. Right? So.
Definitely. One more thing that you mentioned was the strategic development that we use it, right? So can you explain it a little bit? What are we talking about? Strategic enhancement, did you mention? Specifically,
yeah, so I think strategic thinking, like for me, it's like, so I think an AI tool will give you the ability to provide insights, can automate tasks, but it's going to be hard to, in my mind today, to replace human strategic thinking, right? So I think AI will give you the tools, the data, the information, the guidance, but you still need a human to strategically look, because sometimes we do have to get away from our computers and we have to go talk to our clients. We have to go see what's happening in the real world, right? So I think AI is not there yet. Is it going to be there? Maybe, but I think there's an opportunity. I use this line all the time that, AI won't replace marketers, but marketers that understand AI will replace marketers that don't. Right? Like, so just using it to make you a better marketer, but you still need the strategic side in my mind. You still need to be the person, like, I still run strategy sessions with clients, and then you could take that data and allow AI to help you kind of take it to the next level.
Absolutely. And I love the line where you mentioned that if you are not a marketer who doesn't know AI, you are going to replace the marketers. You are going to be replaced by the marketers who absolutely have complete knowledge of how to enhance AI and use it in
Yes.
marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
Now, I guess we can talk about the impact of AI on the role of media planners. Like till now, before a few years ago, we have
Yeah.
been using media planning in a certain way. So I want our audience to understand what is the impact that these years have made on media planners as a job and media planning as an entire domain. As per your
Yeah.
experience, how do you see AI automation affecting job responsibilities overall?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And um, I'm not a task detail person, so I love that the biggest thing that AI has done for me is just replace sort of the routine tasks, right? So I think that's a primary impact of right now. So the automation and routine of things like, for instance, you would take all your data and you now need to analyze it. You need to report on it. You need to build a 12-month planner. Now AI can do that really quickly for you, right? So I think that's one key area I think that AI is seen where I think it's changed sort of the role of responsibility. The other part is it's allowing us, I think, to make better decision, right? Because now we're taking all this large data that some people were hard time to analyze or take a long time to analyze, but can actually give you really good information on a click of a button. And you'll hear me talking about sort of predictive analysis that it can look at audience behavior, campaigns performance, and all that real time and give you some really good information. I think that's a really neat information. The other part is what I love is personalization. Marketing has been moving to personalization for a few years, but I think AI has taken it to the next level, right? So now, based on how your clients are interacting with your data, it could actually give you it could shift really quickly towards personalized targeted campaigns. Or now, again, it's changing the role. We used to have to do that by humans, take the data, analyze it, give it to a creative department, wait for your copy team, all this stuff till you're 2-3 weeks out. Where now real time, it can actually do that for you. So it actually, it's making a lot of shift for sure in your day to day. And the last thing is change management. I think that's a big topic. I think maybe a lot of people aren't talking about, where as humans, like as we implement new technology into workforce, are we ready to adapt to that, right? Are we ready to adapt to kind of now where can my time be better spent if I'm not doing the tasks that AI can do, right? And I think there's an opportunity for us to really leverage that as well. So lots of different areas where it's impacting and shifting what we're doing on a day to day.
I totally agree. Most of all, because the things that you mentioned, we have to research about the data, collect all the data, then give the data to the marketers or advertisers who are responsible for the next task. So it took a lot of time, and AI just shortened the entire time and reduced it to a level where now we can do things in a few hours. Tasks
Right.
that took around 1 week or 2 weeks, it can be done in a few hours or maybe a day. So that is really helpful. One more thing that I
Yeah.
wanted to add here was, maybe do you think there, even when AI is providing all the data, there should be a person who have to see whether the data is correct or not. One, and second, AI is not yet, maybe in future, as we just mentioned, maybe in future AI could be that much sensible that it can get some idea or concept out of the data. It can analyze the data and make a story around that. But right now we need people who can do that, even if they're doing it with AI.
100%. 100%. I think that's a great point you brought up. I agree with that 100%, that it's not going to replace the role of the human. It's going to just change the role that we play within there, right? So I agree with you. And that's one thing it's lacking. I always say it's still a little too robotic. It's not understanding the influences of today's world. And it's what it is. It's mechanics. So I think I agree with you 100% that there's it's the human element needs to be involved in it for sure.
Absolutely. And I agree on the time for sure. I think one more thing that you mentioned, I forgot to use that again, was that you mentioned that human creativity and strategic thinking. This is also one thing that cannot be replaced here only if we are talking about job responsibility. And I think you have noticed that one of the challenges in media planning is addressing issues like ad fraud, viewability, brand safety. How do you think AI driven media planning solutions can help overcome these challenges? Or are they doing it right now, or will they be able to do it in future?
Yeah, and I think it is doing it a little bit right now for sure. So if I tackle each of those, so for instance, for ad fraud, um, what AI can do is it can detect patterns and anything that's abnormal in data that might indicate fraudulent activity, right? Like right now, it's hard to do it ourselves, but AI has been able to do that. So if there's a sudden spike in traffic for unusual patterns or behaviors, AI can flag that for you, right? So I think that there's ability, and you can train your AI model to what to look for, right? To look for. So yes, I think it is doing it in ad fraud viewability for sure. So what AI can do is it can optimize placement for viewability. So it can analyze a bunch of data and look at behaviors, performances, and can predict, ad placements or which ad placements are more viewable than others, right? So, and I think that's happening sort of now anyways in programmatic buying and so forth. Like I think it kind of is doing it a little bit already. Brand safety is a difficult one a little bit because, I think that's a big topic, right? And I think that there is ability now for AI maybe to analyze content of things like websites or videos or other media to see if it aligns with your brand, right? So you can also look at sentiment, right? You can look at what's the sentiment of that brand. Does it align with your brand? So AI can help a little bit there. I don't think it's there necessarily 100% in brand safety, but for viewability and ad fraud, I think it is. I think it's, and the beauty is that it's real time. So if it notices something, it can adjust in real time, not wait and say, okay, hey, we got data at the end of the month and now we got to adapt. Well, we've just lost 30 days of data. So it could actually be more effective in my mind when it comes to that for sure. But again, it's not a magic solution. It's not a wave the wand and it's going to fix everything, right? Back to, it's going to give us data to analyze back to humans. We have to take that data and now we have to do something with it, but at least can give us some real-time data to tell us if it suspects fraud or if the viewability is not where it should be, right? So.
Mhm. Absolutely, I completely agree, and that is very fascinating because AI's ability to process the entire data rapidly and detect irregularities, if it
Yes,
happens like properly, it can be a
correct,
real game changer, specifically
correct.
in media planning, right? Moving ahead, I think now it's time we should explore how AI can enhance a media planner's ability to identify target audience and select the most effective media channels. So, what do you think? How does AI contribute to this entire process?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question because what I always say is that in order to have and it's very simple, you need the proper audience, the proper message, and then you pick your proper tactics in order to have successful media planning. And I know that's simple, but it really truly is. So I think one thing that AI can help us is, and I think this word is thrown around a lot, is predictive analysis, right? So it could actually look at what are our customers' behavior, what is campaign performance, and what are marketing trends, and using historical data to predict how our campaign is going to do in real time. And I think, again, historically, you would have to, back when I started in media planning, you'd buy traditional media and you'd run your 60-day campaign, 90-day campaign, and then you would analyze the data and make decisions. You don't have to do that anymore. Now we can predict based on and make real-time optimization, right? So for instance, if an ad is not performing well, AI can automatically adjust the placement, can adjust the content, can adjust targeting parameters and all that, right? So that's really important to we never been able to do that. The other part I think is important is I'm big on sentiment, right? So AI can analyze social media posts, customer views, other user generated content, and it can actually change your campaign based on that, right? Which is really neat. Again, it could do that in real time. And then one that we've used this a lot is contextual targeting as well, right? So AI can analyze content of websites and other digital media platforms and determine the context of which the ad should be displayed, like it can be displayed. Sorry. So there's some really neat things that it can do. And the last one I want to talk about is sort of that cross-channel attribution. And one thing that's important for is that typically, attribution's hard in marketing world. Where do the results come from? But I think with AI, it actually can analyze performance across multiple channels. Like it can be search, social, email, whatever it may be, and it can optimize the ad spend based on sort of what's performing. And again, it could do it automatically. So there's lots of different areas where AI can help in those areas for sure.
Mhm, mhm. I completely agree here. One thing that I wanted to ask here was
Yeah.
when you started talking about target audience, you said that the target audience will be perfectly placed. So, being a human, we have limited time and resources sometimes. One person can be focused on one task, maybe two things they can do. So, do you think AI can really help us with the experimentation process? Like it can, because of its ability, it doesn't have emotion, it doesn't get tired. Do you think being in media planning industry, AI could really work on experimentation, and through those experimentation it can get some data and insights about how the audience, how the target audience they are behaving, and then get some results onto that? Do you think it could work?
100%. I think that that's a really key aspect of media planning. Like, we all love A/B testing in marketing, sometimes ABC testing, and it takes time and money. Where using AI can predict how audiences are likely to respond even to campaigns, right? So even without even running the campaign, sometimes if you have really good data, it can predict the likely, say, a response to a new ad before it's even launched, because it's going to look at all the data, historical data, and then it's going to tell you, well, based on this message and tactic, here's kind of what we think you're going to get. It's not going to be an exact science, but it's better than we have. And you can use that to really reduce any poor campaign performance, right? But yeah, 100%. I think AI allows us to test really quickly, right? And I always say, like, it's okay to fail as long as you fail quickly, right? So because that's important data to give us. So I agree with you 100%. I think AI, that's a real key aspect that we can use in media planning, is that, or so we can use AI into media planning, is that it can allow us to really test this campaign out real quickly before going too far into it.
Mhm. I can conclude this particular paragraph saying AI's ability to analyze complex data sets and identify the audience segments can undoubtedly enhance the campaign performance and improve the overall effectiveness of that marketing campaign.
100%.
Right? And one
100%.
aspect that we are missing talking about campaigns is budgeting. And I guess
Mm.
budgeting certainly plays a very crucial role in marketing media planning. It can change if you have low budget, it can change how many experiments you're going to run and what are the resources that you're going to invest in. Will you share your thoughts on how do you think AI can assist media planners in allocating resources more efficiently through budgeting?
Yeah, for sure. And budgeting is always the big one, right? Because when the rubber hits the road is when the dollars have to be spent. So again, I think a couple things. So AI can, again, using predictive analysis, AI can analyze historical data and predict the performance of different channels, ad formats, audience segments. So it could actually help. It could help at least optimize your return on your investments. So that's the top thing. But there's actually, there's lots of tools that are being used. For instance, I think, in marketing, we're familiar with real-time bidding. So in programmatic advertising, AI algorithms can make real-time decisions about which ads to bid on, how much to bid on, based on the likelihood of the user clicking on the ad, so it can maximize. And that's been happening. So that's not something new, but it's becoming better and better, right? So there's also different types of optimize algorithms. So there's ability for AI to look at, different types of algorithms, and depending on the effectiveness, decision making time, and so forth, they can actually bid at different levels for you at different times of the day for you. So that's really neat. There's dynamic creative. So based on what person's doing, individual users doing, it can actually create engagement and conversion rates by changing the ad content that's serving you. So you and I, based on what we're doing, might get, for the same brand, might get different ads. And AI can help that because they know what's important to you, what's important to me, based on our activity, and it could actually push. So again, you're using your dollar, it's increasing the dollars ROI on what you're putting out there. And the last thing it could do is it could help with just budgeting, right? Because sometimes historically clients that that don't have maybe the advantage of having a marketer work with them, is they might just say, my budget's $12,000, I'm going to spend $1,000 a month. Well, it doesn't work that way in marketing, right? There's an ebb and flow in your systems and your time of the year and when to spend, and well, AI can help that, can help pace your budget properly for you, so you're always using your spend wisely. So there's lots of those things. And the last one I want to talk about is sort of the attribution model. And I think that's a big one for me, is that historically, what we look at is we look at the last thing someone did. We're going to say that's what converted them. Well, what about all the other stuff that happened, right? So I think where it allows us to look at the customer journey, all the things that they did, and actually spend your dollars wisely. Because we all know in marketing that it's not just one thing that converts somebody, right? There's all the other things that happen. So AI can actually look at all that data and say, you know what, the third step is just as important as the last step because it pushed them through to conversion. So I think there's lots of different areas where AI can help with the budgeting cycle. And I mean, that's just a few that I touched on, right? So.
Mhm. I agree, and specifically on that line that you just mentioned, that it's not just one thing that affects an audience's decision whether they want to purchase or they want to go for the CPO or not, but
Yeah.
all the other things that come alongside. It's the complete stage of the funnel. Each stage have to be fulfilled. So that's awesome. As you mentioned, the effectiveness of ROI that we might receive through AI. So I want to talk a little bit about that. If How do you think AI can enable media planners to measure and attribute the impact of various media channels accurately? Are there any specific, you believe there are any specific AI-driven attribution models or methodologies that assist in determining the true effectiveness of a campaign? Right now, as humans, we have a certain mindset that we can carry on. Like these are the attributions or methods that we can follow up to make sure, okay, this campaign was successful. But how will AI do that?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. Again, I think that, as I said, that one of the traditional attribution models typically often credit what we call last click, right, for a conversion. So, but that doesn't really reflect the complexity of like a customer journey, right? Because a customer journey doesn't always happen that way. So I think AI can help develop multi-touch attribution models where we can assign credit or weight to each touch point, right? So, I'm a big believer in looking at your customer journey and what people do at different steps. So I think number one, it can actually take away sort of that last click conversion mindset and use a tool, a model, sorry, that allows us to look at every step of the customer journey. So that's number one. The second thing is AI can use historical data to predict the likely impact of different channels in future, right? So it can help media planners allocate their budget or allocate our budget more effectively and maximize our, and that's a very simple one. The other thing is actually data integration. I think that's one thing that I'm excited about is that now we can take what we're seeing on web analytics, your CRM system, your social media, all that, and actually put it into one model where historically sometimes we look at it individually. Now we can look at all these attributions and measurements and bring them all into one, and AI can help you bring all that together. Again, all these data sit together. Remember that it's real-time analysis too, right? Where now AI can actually look at real-time data and help us make decisions on ROI right away, so we're not waiting on it. So that's a big thing for us as well, right? So, and then the two big, like there's a couple of big terms I think when it comes to this is one is, there's machine learning algorithms. So various machine learning algorithms can be used to analyze like really complex patterns, right, of data. And that's one, again, back to what we said at the start, learning, understanding the fundamentals of AI is, learning what machine learning algorithms are and how did the data that it put in there, how you put data into it and how you actually look at that model is tough. And the last one is, what we call natural language processing. So it can actually look at unstructured data like customer reviews, social media posts, and so forth, and actually sentiment and actually give us some data based on that impact on different channels. So there's all this different way that you can use these in order to really drive ROI when it comes to media planning right now.
I certainly believe that being humans, we might be able to forget or not notice a few data structure or some, as you mentioned, the historical side that we can feed to AI to just let AI analyze the entire process that
Yes.
the target audience have been following, their mindset, their perspective, and how are they making a purchase. I think being human, we might miss on certain points, but because AI is already technology and it cannot forget those things. It can definitely focus on such small points as well. Then
Exactly.
it would be beneficial for the entire campaigns. Now,
Yeah.
after all these very interesting ideas, I think it's time we explore some real life examples. Can you share any successful implementation of AI enhanced media planning strategies? Any examples that you might have read about or you may have experimented?
Yeah, for sure. There's a couple that there's brands. These are brands that, reference the brands that have used it really well. So Vanguard is a major investment firm. They used an AI language platform called Persado. And what they did is they used it to really personalize their ads based on specific messaging that resonate with sort of their customers, so they knew what they were looking at. And just something simple as that, they saw a 15% increase in conversion rates. Again, very simple, very base level, but you'll see the sort of the power of it. There's a company called Tomorrow Sleep. They're a sleep system. They're a startup. They used a Market Muse to produce, which I love. It's a great AI tool. They used it to plan and produce content based on, and what it does is it actually looks at topics that the company really needs to focus on, and it also looks on how their competitors rank against these topics. So this approach, they saw and I'm not wrong with this number, you can look at it, a 10,000% increase in monthly visits to their website doing this, right? So really powerful way for them to do. And one that I'm really bullish on is the advancement of chatbots right now. So Adobe, they used a conversational AI tool that's made by Drift. So they in what it does, it allowed them to engage visitors at that level, at the chatbot level, and hand off conversations to humans. So the chatbot took you through a journey to the point where then it handed you off to a human, and they saw almost $11 million increase in new sales through using this faster, just because you gave the consumer what it needed really quickly and you made it easy for them. So really simple ways in order to implement some of these AI tools when you're coming to your media planning and execution. And these are all different levels. Some of them are free, some you got to pay, but there's all these different levels of AI that we're seeing that are adding like real dollars to bottom lines for clients.
And I thank you so much for sharing it first of all. One thing that I want to mention here is that 10,000 is a really big number. Specifically, AI is doing it all by itself. And uh, as you mentioned that there are some free tools and then paid tools. I think people are already, companies are already investing in people, and not that I'm saying that they must not, but they're already investing in people. I think maybe in future companies might lean more towards AI because they are more effective. Purchase them for one time. Of course, you need somebody to use that tool, but
Yep.
it could really impact the jobs. Do you think it could impact the market in a certain way?
I mean, it can in some, depending on what you do, for sure. Yes. Like I think that if you're a content writer right now, yeah, like I would be worried, right? Like if I was a web designer, yeah, I might be worried, right? So, but I still think that in general, I'm hoping what AI does is just enhances the ability of what we can do day to day and just make us more effective. Like I see data out there that some AI tools are making people 30 to 40% more effective. So they're not replacing the people; they're just making them more effective, right? And maybe you could start using marketers for different things, different parts of the equation, right? So now we're not building spreadsheets; we can free up our time to analyze data, to interact with clients, to build different campaigns, to build different models. So I'm hoping that it's going to shift what we're doing with humans rather than eliminate the role completely. I think it's going to happen. We're seeing in some, Facebook, we're seeing that they're saying AI is replacing. I haven't seen it in our industry in mass yet. So I'm hoping, I'm being positive, glass half full, that it's going to help augment what we're doing rather than replace.
I guess one of the strongest argument, and we have heard this in ad world as well. If you have heard Seth Godin talking about this one thing, he said that creativity is something that AI might not be able to replace very soon. So, and I have heard a lot of marketers and advertisers talking about this one thing, that even if AI replace everything, it cannot replace human creativity. It is something that makes us human. Do you think
Yeah.
there might be a day wherein it could come not 100% but very close to the creativity of human beings, because it can definitely give us ideas, right? If we are going to
That
ask. right?
Yes. Yeah, that's where I think there's opportunity. I mean, I use AI for that. Is sometimes you're stuck and you just need an idea starter, right? You need something to kind of just spark that idea. I think yes. I mean, I use it for that to kind of like, hey, what about this? And then you take it offline and kind of build it out, right? So I definitely see that there's an opportunity to create that idea, that spark. But you still need the human, I feel, to actually take that and implement it into the brand and into the audience. Like I think that's where I think that there's still ability for marketers like us to kind of take that idea and kind of run with it, right? So
It could be, we can say that AI and human beings have to work hand in hand,
hand
and
in
then,
hand, yeah.
right, and then it could be a perfectly placed campaign. And
We
I
hope
am
so.
I'm just excited to see, because I feel there's so much more yet to be discovered in the field of AI, and I feel the more and more AI will grow, since we being human beings, we throughout the entire evolution we have discovered different ways to survive. So AI could be another challenge that we might need if we have
100%.
to find different ways. We might find ways to survive the job sectors or maybe the opportunities to work again hand in hand with AI.
I agree. I agree 100%.
There are so many things that I've learned today, so many things that I've discovered. So as we wrap up, because
Yeah.
we are almost, the time is
Yeah.
short, and
Yeah.
as we wrap up our discussion, can you share the key considerations organizations should keep in mind when adopting AI-driven media planning technologies? Because as you already mentioned in the examples, a lot of companies and organizations, they are already doing it. Are there any specific consideration that they should keep in mind, and how can they ensure a smooth transition by these considerations while creating a campaign?
Yeah, I think that, number one, the top would be just understand the business needs, right? Like, so before adopting to any technology, the business should just really understand what the needs, objectives of the technology is. What does it need to support? What is it going to do? I think that's number one. Number two is choose the right tools, right? Not every single AI tool is created equally, and there's new stuff every day. So look at what's best suited for the business need and for the organization you have, right? Like that's important. Invest in training. That's a big one. So like, AI tools can be effective, but you need to know how to use them correctly. So I think organizations need to be prepared to actually be spending dollars and allowing employees and marketers to test these out and actually use these effectively as well. I would say that you need some sort of guidance around data privacy and security as well. Like that's one, there's a big part right now is like, what happens to where do you get all the information from? Where is it grabbing it from? So just making it understand from an organization that you have a security policy in place, and be prepared for change management, right? When you introduce new technology, it can cause disruption. People can feel, over inundated. So you need to be able to balance that. And the last thing is just balance. I love what you said, balance AI and human input. You need to be prepared to balance the two together and creative and strategic, and allow them to work together in the time where we kind of be one synergistic, entity together. We're using AI and humans together. So
I completely agree here. And one point that I wanted to share was, I heard about this guy when you mentioned that the second point, maybe third point about training. I heard about this guy who took the opportunity of the new realm of AI, because everybody was worrying about whether AI is going to take our job or not. The guy created a course on how to use ChatGPT.
And with that, we reach the conclusion of this podcast. If you have enjoyed our discussion today, we invite you to explore more insightful episodes on our website or YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to show your support. We also have a very special treat for marketers seeking to enhance their skills in PPC marketing. Visit our website and explore our free academy section, exclusively designed to provide valuable resources and knowledge in this field. And to connect with marketers like yourself, join our Slack community for marketers. Details given in caption below. Thank you.